So these are beliefs that will support you in your coaching. So a fundamental belief, and in fact almost there's no purpose of coaching unless you believe this, is everybody has actually got more potential than they use. And when people are vulnerable, there is nobody in this world, I believe, who is so perfect that they could not improve the way they behave, the way they think, the way they feel or something. So if we presuppose that people have the potential to improve, then anything we say is not saying you are failing, you're incompetent. We're saying you've got more potential. So it's a fundamental belief. Also to believe that whatever somebody is doing, there is some reason within them why what they're doing is the best outcome for them. And this is particularly useful if you're dealing with dictators and gang leaders and such like, because it comes back to what we were just saying now, is finding the why. There is somewhere, a good reason why they behave like that. It may be to do with their upbringing, it may be to do with their experience, it may be to do with bad information. But there is some reason why they're doing their best. Now, very often it's said people have all the resources they need. They don't have all the resources they need because they might need more money, they might need more felt-tip pens. But if you have a belief that they have the resources they need to make the change we're talking about, then we're honouring them and they will respond to that. And also if we believe it, then we must expect that they can do it. There is a positive intention behind every human behaviour. You can interpret that in one of two ways. We can interpret it a little bit like people do the best in the context of where they are. So we can find out what is the positive belief which motivated them. But also you can take more of a spiritual approach, that there's a positive intention from the universe, if you like, behind this. So if, for example, somebody falls over and breaks their leg, that could be all negative. Or it could be that actually that is an opportunity for you to learn all sorts of things. I mean, I broke my wrist a couple of years ago, and I wouldn't choose to do it again, but it was a wonderful experience because I'm all about growth and development, and every day my hand improved. I had to learn to depend on other people. I learned that I could continue to ride a horse by one-handed. I learned lots of things. So I was able to find the positive intentions and respond to them. Whereas I could have just said, oh, you know, the world's like this, everything goes wrong. So find the positive intention and you can help to motivate people. We are each unique. In other words, we're all different. So that means other people are not like you are. And we're all complete and perfect in our own way. So when I used to work with somebody, the girl who used to put give me the feedback on a silver tray. And if I asked her how she coped with difficult people or something, she said, I would keep searching for the pearl within. If you can find the essence of somebody, then we can develop it. If we just try to put somebody into a box and develop them like that, we will find we're teaching people what they're not good at, we're encouraging people what they're not interested in, such like. So it's just a belief. Everybody lives in their own unique model of the world. So the experience we have, everything that we've accumulated, affects the world that we think we live in, because we only live in the way we experience it. So what you assume is relevant to somebody, what you assume they're thinking, how you assume they're responding to a situation might be entirely wrong. So we should be aware that we each live in our unique model. I'm sure this is key. We've learnt you can achieve far more by asking good questions than by telling people what the answers are. It's a fundamental belief. It might not always be true, as I showed in the cycle. It's not always true, but for coaching it's very useful to believe. There is actually a law to do with biology, I think, or science, is that the organism which has the greatest range of choice is the one which will be the most successful. But certainly for us, I mean, I was looking, I read The Guardian, and I think it was yesterday, there was a big headline in the letters page which said something like, there is no choice for the public sector people to go on strike. Well, there's always a choice. And if we believe there's a choice, then we can discuss options. If we don't believe there's a choice, there's no point and we're stuck. So having a choice is better than having no choice, and there is always a choice somewhere. This is a fundamental part of coaching, is if we can change the way somebody appreciates a situation, they will change. Their behaviour will change. We don't need to tell people how to change very often. If we just make them more aware, help them to appreciate things differently, then they'd just be different. Whatever you do, even when you think you're doing nothing, you are communicating in some way or other. We saw from the scenarios that body language leaks. Saying nothing is a positive response. So beware, you can't avoid it. Whatever you do, you're communicating. This is a key belief, again one that's been developed in NLP. There is no failure, only feedback. And if feedback is just evidence, it's evidence we respond. And if something doesn't work out, well, then it's an opportunity to learn something different. But it's just information. This is something of mine. I believe all feedback is a gift. However, whether it's taken as a gift is very much a matter of how it's offered. So I believe it needs to be lovingly given. The meaning of a communication is the response it elicits. And it's so easy to say, these people are too stupid to understand. If you wish to get an idea over or communicate something, it is your responsibility to develop a strategy which will achieve it. And according to the environment or the situation or the intelligence of the other person, the mood of the other person, it's no good saying they weren't in the right mood, they weren't ready. The response is, I hadn't managed to communicate it effectively. Or just to notice what the response is. And I mentioned my cynical thing about commenting about women's role of ironing shirts. The response it elicited that I mentioned was just some sort of thing from the females in the audience. That is a response, and we should notice it, and it's part of our feedback. Actions speak louder than words, and part of our role, I think, and it'll come to it in a moment, of coaches is actually to role model what it is we want people to learn, and particularly to role model the process of learning, to role model the process of being open to new ideas, role model the process of taking risks. So the best way to change others is for me to change myself. I worked in an organisation years ago, and one of the key people was very poor in his ability to relate to other people, and he had quite a number of negative habits. And I was talking to someone who was then one of my teachers and said, you know, what can we do? And he just said, do more of what it is you want him to do back to you. So the more that you can role model the behaviour you want, the better. And the next one, I think, is absolutely that. Be the change you want to see in the world. It's a classic and it's powerful. But
I think Leo Tolstoy also said everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to change himself.
Yeah, and you can only change the world if you start with yourself. So another famous quote here, setting an example is not the means of influencing the other, it is the only means. Because attitude and everything, it leaks.
Einstein also beautifully said that his definition of madness was to do the same thing in the same way 1,000 times and expect the result to be different.
Yes, yes. That's right. Madness is doing the same thing 1,000 times and expecting the results to be different.
If you always do what you always did,
you
always get what you always got.
That's right. That's right. So the classic problem with a lot of people actually is that they are stuck in a habit, and they may not notice that. But as an outsider, you can do that. The trouble so often, isn't it, is that there isn't time to deal with this situation. but the result is that you spend ages and ages and ages in the future dealing with the situation. So it's much better to spend 10 minutes, as we had in our scenarios, talking something through, rather than thousands of minutes dealing with the consequences later. And finally, it's actually quite good fun. And some of the scenarios drew that out, didn't they? Compared with training or telling people off and so on, coaching is quite a lot of fun. Okay? So, we could probably do it row by row actually, and choose for you as a group the top 5. The ones that you think are the most powerful and the most relevant. So we'll start at the back this time. Could we have a spokesperson from the back with a suggestion?
People have far more potential than they use or are aware of.
Hannah, so I've just written people have potential, but okay. And next group?
People are always doing what they feel is best based on what they know.
Right.
No. The rules here.
We felt that doing their best.
The subconscious is driving you, and the subconscious is always doing its best. Now, it may not be the most useful thing for you, so the wording is quite important.
Yeah.
So if I can take, just people are always doing their best.
You're not allowed to change it.
No.
There's no failure.
We're in the first quadrant of the thing where I tell you. If we had more time, we could go into the coaching quadrant. Right, the next row, please.
Ones that haven't been mentioned yet, where people have all the resources necessary to make any desired change. And that as a coach, we need to actually believe that people do have the resources within them to make the change. And if you don't have that belief, then
Absolutely.
you don't go very far.
Yep, good.
Change the perception and behaviour will change.
Good. Okie doke. Now the back row, then your next contribution.
The coach has the questions, the client has the answers. Which is similar to you have all the resources necessary to make any desired change. You just have to get it out of them.
No, it's not. I'm not having any bad behaviour in this group. No, it's not. It's no, because the point is there are 2 roles. The role of the coach is to manage the process, and the role of the client is to manage the content. So the questions and answers are different. Okay. Now next row 3, please.
We are each unique and all complete and perfect tomorrow.
We're doing very well on a consensus. Next row.
We'll go for people are always doing their best based on what they know.
Right. +1.
People have far more potential than the user are aware of. It's just the first one.
Right.
Well, this group, I'm afraid, did exactly the same thing. It tried to put another 2 together. Maverick. There's no failure, only the gift of feedback.
Okay, if you want, yes. No, I don't care what you say, but it is important that you get the meaning. Yeah. Okay, next row, please.
Unique and complete.
Unique and complete. And the front row.
Having a choice is better than having no choice.
Do we not that? We haven't got that, have we? Right. Well, interesting, isn't it? That we have a variety of interests. I thought we might get more common thoughts than that, but we've got 4 key ones that are repeated and a series of other ones. However, the purpose of the exercise is not to get the 5 top ones. The purpose of the exercise was, in a short amount of time, to get you thinking about what's behind them. So may I thank you very much for doing that.